Hello and welcome to Insight Today. I am Jumai Manson. Our focus is the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Don't go anywhere. Insight Today. We'll be back in a jiffy. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Insight Today on Global Television. Now, Nigeria has seen far more than a fair share of security challenges, from kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, armed robbery, and cultism. However, the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, has been experiencing a spike in criminal incidents, notably abduction and murder. While security agencies have had to deal with mounting pressure on account of this unpleasant reality, Nigerians continue to demand more from government in order to curtail this menace. My guest on the program, who will be discussing these issues from a wide range of perspectives, is Christopher Balogun. He is the Deputy Registrar, Federal University, Lokoja, Kogi State. All right, Mr. Christopher Balogun, are you with me? Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, I can hear you.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon, madam.
Balogun. How are you doing today?
You are welcome. We are cool. We are good. Thank you.
I guess it's a little bit of network because I can barely hear you. I guess it's the audio. We'll quickly go on a quick break so we can quickly check the audio and then return shortly.
Okay, thanks.
Yusuf, come and increase it. You're welcome back. Sorry for that short break in transmission, and I was just trying to get all our audios in check. Now, talking about insecurity in Nigeria from what happened over last week, Nabiha and her siblings were abducted. All right, Mr. Balogun, you're here with me. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mr. Christopher, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here with you.
Okay, so
loud and clear.
I'm looking at the focus when it
comes. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking at the focus when it comes to insecurity, talking about the Federal Capital Territory and what has been ongoing. Like I mentioned, I said Nigeria has seen far more than a fair share of security challenges when it comes to kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, armed robbery, and cultism. You know, looking at it, and you know, it's the Federal Capital Territory. It's not supposed to be heard here compared to other states, or it's not supposed to be as so much as it is here. When you hear about what happened last week with Nabiha and her siblings that were kidnapped by terrorists in the Buhari part of the FCT in Abuja, and the ransom of 60 million naira that couldn't be raised, and the death of one of the sisters, Nabiha, which is a very sad occurrence that happened. Would you say terrorism in Abuja is on the rise?
Okay, for us to look at the issue, you know, my worry is that we look at the proximate cause without considering the root cause of every crisis. Every crisis has a root cause, and when we don't take consideration about the root cause, we always miss the whole narrative. Uh, Criminality in Nigeria has an origin, and I think it started with the advent of democratization. Despite our seeing praise of democracy, it comes with its own challenges. Unfortunately, the successive government never made concrete effort to criminalize certain offenses before it becomes a cancerous. Let's start with the issue of kidnapping that is on the surge. There's nothing like maybe state of emergency has never been declared on these criminals. There's no legislation on them invoke that will invoke the maximum penalty for kidnapping, because it's a crime that demands a capital offense punishment, but it has not been done. And in Nigeria, when you look at certain theory that validate increase in crime, I think the most effective one is the one they call routine activity theory. Routine activity theory talks about a motivated offender. Who are the motivated offenders? Those are offenders that when they commit a crime, they go scot-free. There's no penalty or criminalization of any offense again. There's no consequence for criminality. Why won't it be on the increase? It's so unfortunate that even they are trying to improve our criminal law jurisprudence, but so far so good. Nothing has been done to criminalize certain offenses to make sure that perpetrators have severe punishment. We look at the issue of that kidnapping of recent. As I was saying, in this routine activity theory advanced by Marcus Fellon and this Lawrence E. Cohen, it talks about three elements, which are the motivated offenders, those that goes about committing all manners of crime, ranging from corrupt practice that have a systemic effect on those Nigerians. You know, corruption exacerbates the issue of unemployment and other vices, hunger in the line, the increased crime. We have the problem of people living above board, whereby when you commit certain crimes, if you belong to certain cabal or certain ethnics, or it's just too complex. But the bottom line is that we are now a motivated offender that goes about committing crime without consequences. Then we have the second element that has to do with suitable target. That involves you and I. They tell us I can't carry arms, you can't carry arms. That is the prerogative of the federal government or the state government. Even the federal government even have that. They are now, there's a call for the state policing because of the crisis whereby any criminal activity in the state, they have to resort back or defer back to the federal government for intervention. That is also a problem. We are suitable targets. We can't defend ourselves. And we have the motivated offender there to deal with us. Then the third element has to do with absence of a suitable guidance or protector. We have the absence of a suitable protector. Why? The police are not equipped enough. The number is insufficient to cater for to address all this criminality that is on the increase. The judiciary system is so complex that at times when criminals are not even prosecuted the way they're supposed to be, or the clauses involved It's something that we can't deal with. So when we start looking at issue of kidnapping from a very serious perspective and engaging the academia or the academics and other experts to look at it, that's when we start having solution to it, because there's no way it won't be on it won't be on the increase because of the factor we have the suitable motivated offender that will go scot-free, or with less punishment for any crime committed. We have the suitable target that is in their military and that can't carry out, they can't defend themselves. If they find me with a knife, I'm in big trouble, talk less of a gun. How will I defend myself? I heard a very close relative of mine was in Abuja yesterday, and her phone was snatched for obeying the traffic rules. It's so ironic. He stopped at the traffic lights, and that was the day that she was robbed. So it's so funny. It's not a laughing matter, but at times, even trying to obey the law, you can become a target. Then the third one is suitable. The absence of suitable arbitrator or protector or guidance, anyhow you put it, they are not there to protect us, because either they are underfunded, or they don't have the requisite ability, or they are not well trained, or all of the above. But we don't have a suitable protector. That's the honest truth. A formidable protector we don't have. So when we start looking at crime from that,
okay.
You have a better knowledge of it, because it's more complex than we think.
Okay. I'm trying to understand all of these break-ins you're trying to give us, the lecture you're trying to give us. But you said something, you mentioned some of the security agencies, like when you talk about the police, they're not well equipped. But you see, kidnapping, banditry, they keep emerging every single day. And they see this, some of them. An individual, she told me that someone in the police force actually came to her house and said he has to leave, because you do not know how these people operate. Some of these terrorists, when you come to armed robbers, they operate in ways that you cannot even understand. Some, they track these individuals, some they follow them to wherever they are, and they attack them. Now, would you say, despite the fact that the police or security agents are not well equipped, these kidnappers do not care? They are out to do whatever they want, and they feel they will get away with it, from what you have stated and said to us now?
Well, you say the last explanation I made, I think when you look at the recapping, you will understand where I'm coming from. I would like to ask you a question. Why don't we have these kinds of spate of crime during the military regime? I'm beginning to think, during the military regime, as bad as it was labeled by the Western scholar or propagandist, if you commit an offense, you'll be brought to book. Then there was poverty in the land, exacerbating poverty. But they make sure there's a deterrent for every crime committed, and you pay the ultimate penalty. But with the other, I can't blame this administration. I believe they have a better plan to address it, and we see more of it as time arrival. But you can't have a system whereby since 1999, when this thing started coming like a kid love, we took it with levity. And now it has become a monster that is consuming everybody. It didn't start overnight. If there had been proper response, when this kidnapping started, I think in the early 2000s, people behave as if it's nothing. And since the fact that some people are above board, they are untouchable, they have access to maybe an instrument of propaganda whereby they say, okay, you are criminalizing certain people or that, or maybe you are trying to blacklist certain tribe, it becomes very difficult to address.
I think we're having a little bit of hitch when it comes to
yes, and now it's a benefit. The bitter truth is that this has not been, people have not been punished. The bitter truth is that since our National Assembly have a part to play in this, when this thing started, they're supposed to declare a kind of state of emergency on it, whereby
Okay, Mr. Christopher Balogun,
The mention with serious business that these are treated with seriousness. But you keep seeing people being kidnapped. We know about
we're having a slight hitch when it comes to our signal, and I'm sure Mr. Christopher Balogun will join us shortly. He will continue once the network has been cleared. Looking about, talking about the hitch when it comes to security agencies and talking about the military regime, but I wanted to ask Mr. Christopher Balogun about democracy. It's a right to freedom. You just cannot compare the two when it comes to, the military being rigid and, of course, the flexibility when it comes to democracy. And I'm sure Mr. Christopher Balogun will be joining us shortly. Let's quickly go on a break, and Insight Today continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to Insight Today, and I am being joined by Mr. Christopher Balogun. He is the Deputy Registrar of Federal University Lokoja, and he's here with me today on the program Insight Today. Mr. Christopher, are you here?
I'm with you.
Okay, you spoke about some of the hitches when it comes to security agents, and you said the military regime, and of course now democracy. Like I said, military was all about being rigid, and most people complained about the rigidity of the military regime. Of course, democracy, it's freedom of movement. Everyone has a right to say, everyone has a right to his or her own opinion when it comes to democracy, unlike the military regime. And you took us aback and you said most of these things that are happening now when it comes to kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, armed robbery, and cultism was not as much as it was during the military regime, but now it is so much now in this era of democracy. Can you throw in more light, please?
When you look at the strength of our police vis-a-vis the civilian population, is nothing to write home about. I didn't want to give the statistics so it won't be as if I'm ridiculing our security system. There's nothing to write home about, and I believe this present administration, they are making effort towards improving the police force, increasing their number, the quota, their welfare, and the fact that the military that are supposed to, their own is to protect the territorial integrity of the sovereign involved. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Christopher, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Okay. You see them now involved in internal policing, which is not their prerogative. So all those factors create a kind of scene that is not too palatable. Like the increase in crime as a factor over the years, the poverty level has deepened. We became the poverty headquarter of the world. One time we were ranked. We even overtook a country like Pakistan, India. And what do we get for it? The ability to improve. There's this hypothesis that if people are unemployed, the only alternative left is to go into crime. and the unemployment level has jumped up. I don't want to give statistical data so that people, I don't be as if I'm trying to create a good situation about the whole thing. But when you look at the statistics, it's frightening. Crime rate has gone up because the system failed to prosecute criminals. That's just it. The system is such, like, I remember I was once robbed, and they caught the robbers, but they need me to come to the police station to identify the robber that has a gang. After identifying the robber, they expect to come to court for the robber to be properly prosecuted. In fact, at certain time, they want me to be feeding the suspect, which is not fixable, because what allocation is being made to our divisional police, the divisional police in Nigeria office. What allocation did they get? I don't want to give statistics so that it won't be as if I'm aggravating the situation we are seeing, but it's so meager. That's why when there's a crime and you have the timely intervention of the police, they may not have fuel to move them around. And with the removal of fuel subsidy, everything has worsened. And the bottom line is that even if the situation is bad and the environment encourage crime, at least if there's proper prosecution, proper response, it will help us. But the response is poor. When you look at the issue of the Plateau case, Plateau is located in how many thousand miles, square miles or kilometers, with little access to security force. The terrain is complex and hazard for intervention like that to happen. So all those factors. So even when it was going on, to address was a problem. So we have gotten to that state that I believe it will be thoroughly looked at, because this is the heart of the country, Abuja. And thank God, me, I am optimistic because we have a very proactive minister now. In the name of His Excellency, the Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike. He has laid up. He's going to address holistically because he's conscious of those developments. And unfortunately, it didn't start throughout his own time. It started long before now. We can see at least a kind of commitment by this administration to address this malfeasance, starting with the ministerial stag and the corruption and the riot order issued out to kidnappers by the agency. We believe the committee have been set up to look at this thing. It's a problem, honestly. And the reason why I have to use the first theory where that you said you didn't get it. When I said motivated offenders, people have been committing crime. You didn't punish them. What do you want? They keep on committing crime. And others will be encouraged to go into it, knowing that the unemployment level is on the increase, and they know that you don't punish criminals, or the system is weak in such a way that you can't even apprehend them and punish them. People are motivated to even go into crime. That's why we are. That's what the meaning of motivated offenders stand for. And we always have us, you and I, and millions of Nigerians, that the constitution says you can't harm yourself. You harm yourself, you be criminalized. In fact, they make a scapegoat of you because you don't have the what they call prerogative of violence. It's not an innate part of you. Just like the institutionalized criminals. When they meet you, they know what to do. If you create any opposition, they can silence you or end your life. We don't have that nature. So they make us escape because they can use us as an example. You are found with a gun or with a knife or certain knife that is not expected to be held by a civilian. So we are the suitable target any day. We have to look at it. That the reason I make reference to that routine activity theory, because it's staring at us in the face, and by the time we start looking at it from that perspective, it's easier for us to address it. It's a subfield of crime opportunity theory. You get? So I don't want to go into, but Nigerian crisis now, dilemma can only be addressed when we look at it scientifically. It can't be done by, because I mean, it needs an holistic approach. When we also talk about this theory, I want to tell you again, the issue of urban bias theory. People move into Abuja. I am in Lokoja presently. Everybody from the local from the local government want to come to Lokoja because they believe we have better amenities in Lokoja, access to health facility, access to better housing, access to education, and all those factors. Because successive Nigerian government have neglected the local government area. Even when allocation has been made, the state government they hold on to it. The local the next of the state government. So all these people, both the local government, they come to the urban center. From urban center, all of them really go to Abuja. Abuja is becoming overpopulated. There are some people that have no business criminal activities. You wonder whether they are true Nigerians. But as the thing has come to the foothold of government now, everybody is becoming concerned. But I believe this administration will address it as time winds up, since we can see little commitment, at least some commitment by them as compared to the last administration.
All right, Mr. Balogun, let me take you back. You know, today, 15th of January, is the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, remembering our fallen heroes who have paid the ultimate price. Remember those still serving, those in the war zones when it comes to the Northeast, Sambisa Forest, all of those things. Now, I want to ask you, what do you think are the challenges that have made them unable to fulfill the mandates to us by trying to nip it in the bud when it comes to insurgency, cultism, armed robbery? Our security agencies, what do you think are their challenges?
Whether we like it or not, we have the crisis of personnel. The ratio of our security agencies vis-a-vis the Nigerian populace is very, very poor. Second has to do with their welfare. Their welfare package is equally very, very poor. You know, I promise I won't give statistics here, so I will. It won't sound as if I'm trying to create the problem to be much more than what it is. We have this crisis of funding also. The fund is not just funding also. The fund is not just there. You know, the country went into high degree of indebtedness. The last time I checked, before I start checking, our debt profile stood at 49.81 trillion. For God's sake, what are we thinking of from 11 trillion? So, and nothing was done to at least reduce the to empower the armed forces sector. We have this, their budget was a bit low, and when it's there, it found the way into private pockets of certain cabals that profit from this crisis. There's this theory of economy of war. People that during conflict, that's when they make their money. They try to exacerbate this crisis so that they can be relevant, so that they can make money. And you know, everything's linked. You know, over the year, nobody is being prosecuted for one crime or the other, and the crime is there. Over the years, there are certain things that I'm not permitted to say on the global, because I don't want to be invited by DSS or to be picked up and make a scapegoat. That's the honest truth. Okay. But over the years, we know of certain things that needs to be done that wasn't done. There are some people that profit from this crisis. They don't want to do it. And we know about complicity, whereby some politicians will connive with all these elements just to advance their individual or corporate interests. The issue of Nigeria is so appalling that I start wondering that, what's wrong with us? I don't want to use any vile language here. But what's wrong with us? For God's sake, imagine Nigeria is a country whereby foreign investors will come into the country. They will meet up this status provision of transacting business in Nigeria. Nigerians will encourage them to go and sue the country, take us to international law court, give evidence against the country, and they ask us to pay fine in millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Some runs into about 400 million. Those are things, and it increases our indebtedness. At the end of the day, it wears off on the citizenry. Now, the situation is so bad, the hunger is so bad. From the angle of politicians, there are times that they deliberately protect these criminals for their own selfish reason. We know about the history of insurgency in Nigeria. It started. At least people have rudimentary knowledge of it. I won't expose it here. It's none of my business. But it's the same thing across board. When this thing started, it could have been nipped at the bud, but the bitter truth is that because of certain interest, they brought in the most severe element of all, religion and tribalism. And when you bring this thing, it's very difficult to address any crime. That's why I said we have enough motivated offender across board. You can resort back to ethnic sentiment or religious sentiment to validate that you are not guilty, even when you are guilty. How are we going to solve all this? I think the problem needs an holistic approach. But the summation is that, give or take, we should make sure people start serving punishment for every crime committed.
All right, Mr. Balogun, we are going to go on a quick break, but when we return, I have questions I need to ask. When you, of course, no one is above the law. If we're going to go back and look at the presidential speech on New Year's Day, that he said it on his own that there's going to be a monitoring team for individuals who are when it comes to those in authority, that's governance as a whole. But let's quickly go on a quick break. Inside Today, we'll be back shortly. Mr. Balogun will be joining us as we return. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back from that quick break, and this is Insight Today, looking at insecurity and the Federal Capital Territory as the focus that we are looking at today. It has to do with the Nabila's kidnapping that led to her untimely death. She was kidnapped with five of her siblings, and unfortunately the ransom could not be paid and she was killed by her abductors, which is a very sad note there. And looking at insurgency in general when it comes to the Federal Capital Territory, and I am being joined by Mr. Christopher Balogun. He's the registrar of Federal University of Lokoja, and we're throwing in more light on talking about securities when it comes to the police, when it comes to security agencies in general, looking at insurgency when it comes to armed robbery, cultism, kidnapping, all of these things combined. And I mentioned, and I said, I said, let us reflect back to the president's speech when during the New Year's Day, when he said there shall be no excuses. They will be monitoring committees to monitor the activities of those in authority. So automatically, the president himself is in the bud. And of course, Mr. Christopher Balogun, are you here with me?
I can hear you.
All right. I know you're the Deputy Registrar of Federal University Lokoja in Lock City, but let's bring it back home now. You know, one of the focus that actually sprung this particular topic was the death of Nabila, one of the siblings that was killed by her abductors that couldn't raise the ransom that was asked by her abductors. Now, look, being a registrar and you see what is happening while so many students, when it comes to individuals in the tertiary institutions, are being kidnapped. Either they're on their way home or something will lead to something. You hear 300 level, 400 level, and all of that. What do you think is the challenge for someone who says some of these students actually put themselves out there in the social media, giving the abductors, or will I say kidnappers, that urge or verge to kidnap them due to the information they have given when it comes to social media, some informations in which they get. What do you think is actually the spiral of this particular challenge that we face when it comes to students who are being kidnapped in tertiary institution close to when they are to graduate? It's so sad. From 300 to 400 level students, it is so sad. What do you think are the challenges, or what is prompting this sort of insurgency when it comes to in the area of students in the tertiary institution?
Like when I look at the preponderance of students kidnapped in the tertiary institution because of their exposure or maybe their financial position on social media, flaunting their wealth, it's very, very low. You can't say it's that high. The bitter truth is that highway has never been safe. All they do is to randomly just go on the highway at a certain time whereby they have information that security is weak, pick anybody that was unfortunate to be on the road by that time, and hold them to ransom. The student on their own part, no matter how meager the statistics is a problem. I'm always wary of Facebook, where some people fly. The next thing is that he was visited by a robber and was murdered for it. So I agree with you on that aspect that the usage of social media has two ways. You have the productive element, at the same time the destructive element. So you should make sure you use the social media space for productive purposes. On part of the student, it's so unfortunate that at the end of the day, it's the downtrodden, it's the masses that bear the brunt of these criminal activities. Because we know, imagine me myself being a civil servant. There's no way I can fly myself to Lagos from Lokoja. I have to first go to Abuja, then take a flight to Lagos. We are talking the least is from 75,000. That is the least you can get. You can get as much as 120 just to secure yourself. But you see some of us going by flight because it's better to staff for
presidential speech on, to bring an end to insurgency, from headlines in which we've listened to and we've watched, charging them to be on their toes when it comes to fighting insurgency. Now, Mr. Christopher Balogun, now, looking at it properly, do you think there will be any headway? This is 2024. I know it's too early to judge, but with what you've seen, you've credited the present administration on
No, you ask academic question, and I start worrying that I might write another PhD exams. The presidential speech was very, very encouraging. And so far, the president has demonstrated his resolve or to reduce all the crises of Nigerians. We can see it from his policy implementation. First, issue of corruption. Nobody believes that we will address corruption this headlong. But so far, making his minister scapegoat, It's very rewarding and very encouraging. Secondly, the amount allocated for defense this year is very, very impressive. It's in trillions. I don't have the exact figure, but I know it's in trillions. And he has tasked them to make sure they bring the issue of insecurity to the barest minimum. And I believe that's the right direction.
Look at it critically and seeing all of this, especially in the FCT. This is the Federal Capital Territory where we have all the big guns, the big shots here. The president is here in the FCT, and when you hear things like insurgency, like you mentioned, your family friend that her phone was snatched, obeying traffic light yesterday, that was one, and you'll be surprised that some go as far as using very highly placed weaponries to actually snatch either purses, either snatch their phones and all of that. That was just a tip of the iceberg. Okay, let's talk about the One Chance incident here in Abuja. It happened from the Pape Junction, which is now on the rise as we speak. It is high rate when it comes to One Chance in the Pape axis, where from Maraba to Yanya to Kubwa to Wuse, all of these things here in the Federal Capital Territory, where the residents here are supposed to feel safe because the president lives here, and we have our ministers, we have everyone here. So what's your take when it comes to insurgency on the rise in Abuja? And I pray it doesn't get to that.
Yeah, the good thing is that we can see the result of the president with the amount of the national resource that is allocating to defense. Then we can see a workaholic FCT ministers that is so brave in addressing the issues in FCT. He was criticized, he was blackmailed, all manners of propaganda was used. Propagandists were employed to also undermine his determination to solve some of these problems. I know certain policies on the way. By proxy, I have access to some, but I won't disclose it. But the issue of One Chance will be brought to barest minimum by the FCT minister. It's a blunt person. He's somebody that won't tell you what you want to hear. He'll tell the truth to your face. There are lots of programs that he has aligned to address some of these crises. He's just starting and he's understudied them. When the first thing about when somebody is conscious that there's a crisis, that means